As summer slowly gives way to cooler days, there's something comforting about a hearty, oven-baked meal. Back in the mid-20th century, before comfort food was even a term, chicken pot pie was already a staple on American dinner tables. Golden flaky crust outside, creamy chicken and vegetables inside. It didn't just feed you, it brought everyone together. Today, we're bringing that tradition back with a true vintage-style chicken pot pie. Buttery, rich, and full of old-fashioned charm. Welcome to Apaulo Diner. Hello my friends and fellow Apollonians, welcome back to Apaulo Diner. I'm your host Apaulo Jupiter, and today we're making a hearty classic perfect for this time of year. Rich, comforting, and impossible to resist. Let's get started. We'll start with that gorgeous crust. To keep things moving, you'll find the full ingredient list down in the video description, nice and tidy. Now there's something deeply satisfying about making pie dough from scratch. And for a true vintage chicken pot pie, we're doing it the way it was done decades ago. Back in the 1940s and 50s, chicken pot pie wasn't just comfort food, it was a way to stretch leftovers and make something feel special. Families often use Sunday's roast chicken tucked into a flaky crust to get one more hearty meal out of it. So we begin with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, about 250 grams, and 1 teaspoon of salt whisked together in a large mixing bowl. Now comes the real vintage touch. 2/3 of a cup, or about 130 grams of lard. Back in the day, this was the secret to an irresistibly flaky crust. Lard was often used because it was much cheaper than butter. Shortening works too, but lard was the go-to in mid-century kitchens, and it makes all the difference in both texture and flavor. If you've never worked with lard before, don't worry. It may look a little suspicious at first, but it knows what it's doing. Now we'll cut it into the flour. Just use 2 knives or work it in gently with your fingertips. Continue until the mixture looks like coarse crumbs. That really just means cutting the lard into smaller pieces right into the flour until the whole thing resembles a bowl of soft, floury crumbles. If you want a deeper look at this technique, check out my American biscuit video where I break it all down in detail. Next, we'll drizzle in some ice-cold water, a tablespoon at a time, about 6 to 8 tablespoons, just until the dough comes together. We're not aiming for super sticky here, just enough for it to hold when pressed. So once you feel it come together, knead it together gently by hand, but don't overwork it. We want it soft and easy to roll later on. Once the dough is ready, we'll divide it into 2 equal discs. Wrap it up like it's going to a fancy spa. Give it at least 30 minutes to unwind, or even longer if you're feeling generous, so the fat stays cold and the dough relaxes. Alright, while our crust is chilling in the fridge like it's on a tiny pastry vacation, let's get that delicious filling going. We'll start by melting about 1/4 cup, or about 60 grams of butter in a large skillet over medium heat. For me, that's on a 4 out of 9 on the dial. Butter always knows how to start things off right. Like a good opening act before the main show. Once it's molten and gently sizzling, we'll add 1 finely chopped onion, about 100 grams, along with 1/2 cup, or about 75 grams each, of diced carrots and celery. This is the holy trinity of pot pie filling, soft, savory, and a little sweet from the carrots. We'll saute everything for about 5 to 7 minutes, just until the vegetables soften and the kitchen smells amazing, like Sunday dinner. Now we'll turn the heat up just a touch and sprinkle in a 1/4 cup or about 30 grams of flour right over the vegetables. We'll stir it in and let it cook for about 2 minutes. This cooks out the raw flour taste and forms our so-called roux, the base that will thicken our creamy sauce. Next, we'll slowly pour in 2 cups or about 480 milliliters of chicken broth, stirring constantly so we don't end up with any lumps. Once it starts to thicken, we'll add half a cup or about 120 milliliters of milk for that smooth, old-fashioned creaminess. Now it's time for the stars of the show. 2 cups or about 300 to 350 grams of cooked diced chicken. Very easily prepared by cutting chicken breasts into dice and cooking them in salted boiling water for about 2 minutes. Then 1 cup or about 150 grams of frozen peas, if you want them with a bit more bite, though canned peas work just as well, no judgment there. And if you're feeling a little fancy, half a teaspoon of dried thyme and half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Both are optional, but I'd recommend them. They bring out a nice mid-century flavor and extra depth. Now we'll season with salt and pepper to taste and let it all simmer together for 5 to 7 minutes. Just enough for everything to mingle and the sauce to thicken nicely. The chicken's relaxed, the vegetables are mingling and everyone's swimming in sauce. It's practically a pool party in there. If you like it even thicker, the kind of filling that holds its shape when sliced, you can stir in a little cornstarch slurry. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch mixed with cold water, then stir it in over higher heat until it tightens up. If you want that real sliceable pot pie moment, cornstarch is your friend. Just don't overdo it, or you'll be serving pot pie bricks. 1 tablespoon should do the trick. Once it's rich, creamy and piping hot, we'll set it aside to cool slightly while we roll out our crust and get ready for our grand finale. Now that our dough has had a good rest in the fridge, lucky dough, it's time to roll it out and bring everything together. But first we'll preheat our oven to 200 degrees Celsius or 390 degrees Fahrenheit using top and bottom heat. Next we'll take one of the discs and roll it out on a lightly floured surface. No need to rush, you're not stretching a bed sheet, just guiding it into shape. You're aiming for a round shape just a little bigger than your pie dish. Enough to gently press it into the bottom and up the sides without stretching. Let the dough settle in naturally. If it starts to stick, go ahead and dust the surface and your rolling pin. Just don't overdo it, we still want that crust to stay tender and light. Once it's rolled out, we'll carefully lift it into a slightly greased dish and ease it down into the corners. Press it in gently, no need to force it. The dough knows what to do. If it had a voice, this is where it would sigh and say, finally. Now we'll spoon in that creamy filling. By now it should be slightly cooled, still warm, but not hot. Spread it out evenly, so every bite gets a bit of everything. And if a little bit accidentally ends up in your mouth, well, that's just part of the process. Then we'll roll out the second dough disc for the top. Lay it over the filling, lining up the edges as best as you can. If there's a little overhang, that's just fine. We'll trim it and seal the edges all the way around. You can pinch the edge with your fingers and roll it inward, crimp it with a fork, whatever suits the mood. Before we bake, we cut a few small slits into the top crust to let steam escape. The pie needs to breathe while it bakes. A simple X in the center works perfectly. Just make sure the cuts aren't too narrow, or they might bake shut again. And for that beautiful golden shine, we'll whisk together 1 egg with a splash of milk and brush it gently over the top. Not too much, just enough for a soft, glossy finish. We're aiming for a glow, not a lacquer. And with that, our pie is assembled and ready for the oven. We'll place the pie on the middle rack and we bake it for about 45 minutes. After the first 10 minutes, we'll reduce the temperature slightly from 200 to 190 degrees Celsius or 390 to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and let it finish baking for the remaining 35 minutes. That initial burst of heat helps the crust develop a lovely golden color and a bit of crunch, while a lower temperature ensures the filling heats through gently without bubbling over. You'll know it's ready when the top is beautifully golden and the filling starts to bubble ever so slightly around the edges. If the crust starts to brown too quickly, just cover it loosely with a bit of aluminum foil. It's like giving it a little sun hat. No need to wrap it tight though, just let it rest on top to shield the crust while the rest catches up. Once your timer rings, it's time to get that beauty out of the oven. Look at that beauty. Once it's out of the oven, we'll need to let it cool for at least 10 to 20 minutes before slicing. Yes, I know it smells like a dream, but be strong. You've made it this far. Yes, this step matters, not just to avoid burning your tongue, but to let the filling settle. Think of it as the pie catching its breath after all that bubbling and browning. If you've baked it in a cast iron pan like I'm doing, give it a bit more time to rest. Cast iron holds heat beautifully, which is great for baking, but it also means the inside will stay piping hot for a while. It's like a little pot pie sauna. Cut in too soon and you risk softening the crust with steam or watching your lovely filling slide right out like it's late for a party. So give it time and it'll slice better, hold together nicely and stay crisp on the bottom, just like it should. Now comes the best part. Let's cut into this beauty. Take a sharp knife and gently slice through the golden crust. If it sounds just a little crisp as the knife glides through, you've done everything right. If everything falls apart, then you probably cut into the pie a bit too early. It just needs a little more rest. Use a pie server or a wide spatula to lift out that first glorious piece. Yes, it might not be the prettiest slice, the first one never is, but it's always the one that says, I couldn't wait. That flaky crust, the creamy filling, those little peas peeking through like they're trying to say hello. It's everything a classic chicken pot pie should be. Serve it up while it's still warm. Maybe add a small salad on the side or just a fork and a quiet moment to yourself. It's the kind of meal that feels like a cozy hug straight from a 1950s dinner table. The kind of meal that brought everyone in from the backyard, sat them down and made the world feel alright. Heaven. And just like that, we revived another beloved vintage classic. If you enjoyed this timeless recipe and little taste of the past, please be sure to like, subscribe, and join me for more dishes that bring nostalgia right to your table, like in this wonderful video right here. Until next time, my friends and fellow Apollonians, may your crusts be flaky, your fillings be rich, and your kitchens filled with the smell of something wonderful in the oven. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.